Hello and welcome to Quantum Explorations. This is Sue Beckley. I was going to begin the next video talking about quantum energy and the hologram of creation, as I spoke about in my second book, Quantum Explorations Far Beyond 3D. And then something really very interesting occurred for me personally. And I think that it is really important to share this before I start talking about that. And it began with my watching other people that I think are really good at making these videos and getting their content and their information out into the world. I've been watching quite a few of the people that I personally admire for their style, their fluidity of speaking and being able to convey concepts. And I recognize that one of my issues was about providing the information on quantum energy and the hologram of creation is that I was comparing myself to other people and how they present their information. As you know, if you've been watching any of my videos, I tend to do a lot of ums and and sometimes the fluidity of my voice and my speech isn't always nice and velvety. Sometimes it's a little choppy, and I'm just so critical of how I do these videos. It's so much safer in my mind to just go behind the typewriter and type it out and put it in book form, and there's the information. But then I realized, here's the thing. I could explain in more detail some of the concepts that I wrote about. And also, everybody learns a little bit differently. And there are different styles of learning. Some people like the auditory, hearing someone speak words, and some like reading it, and some like reading it and then writing it, and some like things being drawn and shown on a blackboard or a whiteboard or something of that nature. They like the pictures that go along with the information. And I had determined that I was going to get a whiteboard and use that to show people exactly what my visualization of the quantum and what the hologram is and what a hologram of creation might look like. Present a model. Uh, Obviously, it's not going to be a complete model. I'm not God. I'm not trying to say that I know it all, but I thought if I could show it in the way that my mind visualizes it, the concepts would be a little bit easier to wrap the mind around, because really we don't walk around day to day in our human form thinking about things in terms of holograms and energy that we can't see. So, okay, I'll get a whiteboard and I'll draw these things. And then what happened? This is the fun part. I ordered a whiteboard and it's been sitting in its box for a week because I could not get myself to pull that whiteboard out and set it up and shoot the video. And that caused me to go, okay, there's resistance here. There's fear. There's something going on. What is it? And as I did my internal investigations, I would do some meditation and I'd ask my body like where I was feeling the resistance every time I thought about doing the video. And I was able to seek out those areas and ask them. I asked my own body, what is this pocket of nervousness or tightness or energy stuckness? What is this about? And through that and my meditation, my personal meditation, and having conversations with my higher self, I was given some very interesting answers. So I want to share them with you because, hey, I'm human, you're human, you're probably experiencing similar things. And isn't it nice to be able to share with each other? We're like torches, one passes and uses their torch to light the other and the other and the other. And before you know it, we're a bonfire of energy and enlightenment and ever closer to unity consciousness. Okay. So what I figured out is that the part of me that was watching other, you know, the I am part of me that was watching other videos and comparing myself to others was doing it in such a way that it was bringing me right back to my childhood issue that I guess I haven't fully resolved, but I think I have now that I'm aware of it. Anyway, where when I was growing up, my sister and my sister's older by 2.5 years, uh, our family unit was such that she was kind of the hero, the one that was always knowing and doing the right things, and very smart, very authoritative, trustworthy, that person that people would look up to or go to for direction or inspiration in that sense, in any sense, with whatever it was she was doing. And as a child, I wanted to be my sister. I wanted, and I did a lot of the things that she did and followed her patterns and following suit. And I never was my sister. I mean, how could I be? I'm me, and my sister's my sister. And we both came to this world with our particular gifts. Do we have commonalities? Sure, we do. But, we were raised by the same parents. And then we have areas in our lives where our personalities and the way we conduct life is different. And so the issue that came up, and I was able to see it and realize that it was still active in my energetic fields and within my body, my mind, and my spirit, my psyche, my subconscious. I went, that's what makes me go, I'm going to leave it in the box and I'll do it tomorrow or the next day, or kept just procrastinating and putting it off. Because not only was I comparing myself again to figures that have been doing something in their own way, other speakers, but I was also trying to be them in essence by really not allowing myself to just be me and sit here in this chair and have a conversation with you, just like I'm sitting with a friend in the living room, how I do always when I work with my clients. Just relax and be real and let it come out the way it comes out. Interestingly, once I understood that dynamic within myself and I spoke to myself and said, hey, I'm not here to be just like anybody else. I said, I got to share this with you guys because none of you is meant to be just like anybody else. And that's great. That's what makes life interesting. I mean, on the highest level, we are all one. We're all source as one unit. And then now we've have this focal point on earth where we're not one, where we're separate. But truly, we really are one. I'm you, you're me, you're your brother, so on and so. I'm my sister, so on and so forth. And I know that's really trippy to try to wrap your mind around, because when I first came into remembering that that's true, I just was like, okay, I can't tell that to anybody because they're going to think I'm absolutely bonkers. I thought I was bonkers. And the more I live and experience and do this earth thing that we're doing, it just it all comes together in a beautiful symphony. Yes, we are all one, and we're having our own independent focal points of reality and experiences. And that's the richness that source obtains the wisdom because of all of our appearingly separate experiences of what this earth is. I don't think we're here to be perfect and masters. And I mean, what's the point? We're perfect and masters anyway in another version of our consciousness. We already are, and we're each other. So why not celebrate the uniqueness that is us in this lifetime and bring to and give to information, knowledge, wisdom, the gift of our experiences. I'm telling you something that's very personal to me. Don't be afraid to tell people what your personal experience is, because you never know if it might help somebody else. And it's a beautiful symphony we're doing here. And that's what I mean about the torches. You know, one person lights up and has this recognition or understanding of themselves, and they share it with somebody else, and that lights somebody else's torch of memory. The torch is just a metaphor. The bonfire is just a metaphor for all of us raising our consciousness. So there you go. I didn't really fully explain that in my book, but here I'm telling you now. I do speak a lot in metaphors, and so it's good for me to do these videos, and that way maybe I can clarify in some way certain things that might have been a little bit tough to chew on when you're reading it. So the bottom line is comparison is, I mean, for me, I'm just going to tell you my bottom line, and if you relate to it, then cool. The bottom line for me is that comparison is a necessity of being human. We're going to do that because A, it has survival uh, value to it. And, you know, when we're babies and toddlers and all of that, we have to compare what everybody else is doing because that's how we learn how to survive. All right. And then when you think about when you're learning anything in school, or you're learning how to do the technique of your job, whatever it is, we still have to have comparisons. I think it's an innate part of the human experience. It's beneficial until we use the comparison with somebody or something else to put ourselves down or feel less than or less worthy, or somehow maybe fraudulent. Those comparisons are not helpful. And and also we are never going to be exactly like somebody else, and that's by design. We're not here to be anybody else. So I'm making this video today to say it's okay when you have fears about something, or you don't know how your information is going to be received by others. Share it anyway. If somebody judges you, that's on them. You know, the saying going around these days, your opinion of me is none of my business. Well, somebody's opinion of you is none of your business either. Don't worry about it. That's not something you need to control or manage, or uh, just be your whole, what's the word I'm looking for? Authentic. Be your whole authentic self. If you have something that you feel is worth sharing, share it, and don't attach to the outcome of it. And don't compare yourself with other people when you do it. It's not helpful. And if you do compare it, look for the areas where you have met and exceeded your own goals. Today, as I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking more clearly and less pauses and brain freezes, and I don't have that lump in my chest that's, you know, that says, oh, you hate public speaking, don't do it, you know, avoid it at all costs. It's not there anymore because I stopped criticizing every little thing about what I'm doing. You could call it a performance. Okay, this is just me talking to you like you're sitting with me in my living room. That's my goal. And I asked my guides, my higher self, source, the angels, the guides. I basically called in the whole crew and said, "Speak through me, help me choose my words, help me say my authentic truth for the highest good of all." That's always my base intention whenever I speak to anyone or I write something in a book. My base intention is always to be the conduit, the channel, whatever you want to call it. And yes, of course, I have to use my experience and the techniques that I use in my work to supplement that knowledge that I'm trying to present. And I use my own experiences. I let my humanity just sit right out there for everybody to see, judge it or not. It doesn't matter to me. If I found some benefit out of something and people could consider it embarrassing, or I just say that's my humanity, right? And if I went through it, chances are at least one other human out of 8 billion people went through it too. So uh, no matter what it is, it's not going to, I'm not going to be the only person on the planet having had that experience. And how I get through it, that's where the gold is. That's the gem. So I will conclude this video by saying how I got through it, my fear, my old programming that said, oh, you'll never be as good as your older sister, so just don't bother trying. Or my old programming that watches other people do this and they do it so elegantly that I think to myself, oh, I'll never speak to people that way. I'll never be able to be that good. The way I got through it was I went internal and I asked myself, what is this fear? Where is it coming from? How do I deal with it? And really, the way to deal with it is by reframing it. It's an old counseling therapeutic technique, but you can do it with yourself. You reframe things from your adult mind that were programmed within you in your child mind, or something you picked up as an adult. You can reframe that too and say, for me, I said, what's the worst that can happen? I'm going to make this video about the quantum and about my vision of how I understand the hologram of creation and how that applies to us. What's the worst that could happen? People could say, well, that's a load of baloney. Don't watch it, turn it off midstream, whatever. Make comments that I'm Looney Tunes. Okay, so big deal. It's not taking food off my table. It's not taking the roof off my house. And even further than that, my other thing was, who I would say to myself, my my thinking mind, my egoic survival mind would say, who are you to teach these principles? You're not a quantum physicist. You don't know all there is to know about God and creation and what there is out there. And then I discovered another thing about myself. Oh, yeah, I'm glad I remembered to tell you this because this is a big one. And I think a lot of people are going through this one. When I decided I was going to, for lack of a better word, teach about this, what my book is about, it set something off in my religious experience as a child that balked from anybody that got up on a podium and ascribed to knowing it all, or really knowing all there is to know about God, source, creator, great spirit, whatever you call that energy that is all of us. It was really scraping a nerve within my energetic system because I'm kind of like a great big lie detector. I can cry bullshit really quick because I feel it. As soon as I hear something, if I know it isn't true, I feel it in my body and I just know. And I've been that way all my life. Um, so I had this fear of being accused of being some kind of preacher or know it all or fake, like I said earlier, pretender. And then I had another one of those conversations with myself, and I said, hey, I'm just sharing what I know. I'm not pretending to be a quantum physicist. I'm not pretending to know everything there is to know about God or creation or anything like that. I am just simply willing to present a model of my understanding and do it on a whiteboard for those that prefer to have images. And it's a take it or leave it deal. I'm not invested in whether people agree with me or not. So that took the big bag of garbage on my shoulders that I've been toting around all these years, and it just right off my shoulders, gone, done, not worried about it. Because, the bottom line is no matter how many degrees or things you study or gurus you talk to or people you listen to on YouTube or anything, none of us really knows the totality of what the truth is of God and creation. I mean, let's get real about that. If somebody tells you they know, sorry, but they're lying to you, or they just don't know what they don't know. But I don't believe in human form it's possible to know all of that. And if we did, we would probably just stop being human and go back to spirit. Anyway, I don't want to get off on a tangent about that. I put out some videos with a friend of mine a couple years ago about there are no gurus anymore. And what that was about was that stop looking for somebody with all the answers and get your answers. Your answers, my answers apply to me. Your answers apply to you. If watching one of my videos helps put a piece of the puzzle in there and maybe connect something for you, awesome. That's the whole reason why I do them. It's not because I'm not clear on what I believe. I'm very clear on what I believe. I try to share it, and that's how we light each other's torches. This is why I love Daniel Scranton, Daryl Inca, Paul Selig, Louise Hay, Tim Tactical, Sarah Zula. Oh, boy, I could rattle off so many. But you kind of get the point. I just named off some of my favorites. Wayne Dyer, my mentor Bob. We're lighting each other's torches. And all that means is when we remember something and we have the courage to come out and say it to somebody else or write it or make a video about it, it helps other people remember. And we go, oh, and the light goes on. That's how we help each other and we move more to unity consciousness. It's not because one person or a handful of people out there have all the answers. No, that's not how it works. We didn't set it up that way, and we certainly aren't going to go out that way. The second coming, and this is a comment about my first book, the Christ consciousness, a somewhat agnostic point of view. The second coming of Christ, Jesus, if you will, although he was an emissary of the Christ consciousness, but as were Buddha and so many other, Muhammad, the enlightened ones that came, that's not going to be an occurrence of one person in human form showing up on the earth and saving all our asses. Sorry to disappoint, sorry to disagree with every Bible and whatever that's out there, but that ain't going to be how it happens. How it's going to happen is we find the Christ consciousness within ourselves, which, in my opinion, the Christ consciousness is another way of saying source consciousness, source love, unity consciousness. That's what they were teaching, guys. They didn't come here because they wanted us to put them on a pedestal and worship them. They came here because they wanted to light our torches in our consciousness and help us figure it out for ourselves. But we do it together as community, as fellow brothers and sisters of Source and God. And I mean, I believe Jesus said, we are all sons and daughters of the Father. So, what does that mean? We're all family. Anyway, I don't want to sound in any way preachy or anything, but I wanted to point out that everybody is going to come to their level of consciousness and raise it and increase it and understand this thing more and more by finding their own truths. They're not going to do it by adopting somebody else's truth. That's what I think. All right. I believe that's the second coming of the Christ consciousness. And in the meantime, the other thing that I think a lot of people miss is we're not here to be masters. We're here to have an earth experience. Are you having fun along the way? So I promise you, the next time I make a video, I'm going to be having some fun because I like to draw and I like to talk. And I certainly love this conversation about how we raise consciousness using quantum energy fields to remember who we really are and how we create our realities.